to order. Somebody want to make a motion to open the meeting?
So made.
Seconded.
Then we will open the Community Preservation Committee meeting on July 10th, 2024. Some of us present and some of us online.
Just need a vote. Everything has to be by
So
roll
since it's
call.
online, those in favor of opening the meeting, say
You
aye.
have to do a roll call.
Roll call.
We have to do it by
Michael?
roll call.
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
John
Yes.
Morton, John Linehan,
Yes.
who's, and Rick.
Terry, yes?
And the chairman votes
And
yes.
Bundy.
Bubney.
And
Did you get
Albumney,
me?
Yes.
meeting call to order. Chairperson's report is brief because not much has been happening. We're polishing off, we'll hear tonight with the substance of things that have been going on. So I have a proposal later on, so I will not be chairperson at the close of this meeting, but that's about all I can think of at the moment. Administrator's report?
Yeah, I'm going to make a suggestion, and this is my own fault. I should have put reorganization closer to the head of the meeting. Would you consider taking reorganization?
I would.
And doing that now rather than going through everything else?
Okay, so reorganization means that I have been, since Mark stepped down, I have been chairman, stepping up from the vice chairman's role. I am more comfortable in passing the mantle on to someone else and remaining vice chairman. Based on the experience of the people we have here and also their ability to put the time into work, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to make the nomination, but I'm thinking of Michael Barrett here as the new chairperson, and I would accept the nomination for vice chairperson. But discussion?
I move that we nominate Barry Gassler, I'm sorry, not Barry Gassler. I move your recommendation.
I second.
You have a second?
I
Discussion?
think we should do the offices separately and not as a group.
Okay, so
Well,
let's,
I would like to nominate Michael Barrett for chairman.
Second.
discussion. Then we
Are
will-
there any complications with his remaining treasurer?
No.
I don't think so. I mean,
Not
I
legally,
talked
anyway.
very briefly with Dwight, and I think I had a brief conversation with Barry as well to indicate that I would be willing to do both. I know that Mark Zemanian, when we talked a couple months ago, had recommended against, and I don't know why, whether he thought it was a conflict of interest or he
There's
just
no
thought it might be too much stuff going on for one person. I suspect that I would not be the type of chairman that Mark was, living here at Town Hall, it seemed at times. He was so involved in a lot of stuff, but I'm happy to pitch in and step up and work very closely. I think it's doable because we have Barry Castle. I'd be willing not to mix in the treasurer discussion, but I think I could do both of them, but if somebody wanted to start learning the ropes as treasurer, I'd be more than happy to transition that role as well. But I think starting as treasurer from scratch would be enormous amount of work for someone. Carrying it forward, because I've spent so much time over the years, is a lot easier for me than for someone else. And that's why I don't feel it'd be too much of a burden. But
And I don't see any conflict of interest involved in that.
yeah, I didn't think, in my mind, there is no conflict.
because most of what we do is open and transparent. I mean, the monthly administrative task is to okay Barry's hours
Yeah.
in general, and then to get the agenda going, run the meetings, and, I think Michael knows what it is, so I don't even define it beyond that, so.
Yeah, I mean, there will be times where there'll be involvement in projects, which I've done. With Mark and Barry, I've already been kind of transitioned into being a part of early discussions on something like HSL, and I'm more than happy to coordinate some of those conversations with Town Hall.
And that's why I prefer him to me, because he's willing to be part of that, whereas I prefer to be off doing my other things. So that works out for me.
Can I make a motion to move the question?
So made.
So may.
Well, I don't think we need it because we don't have to go through a roll call. Let's just vote.
Well, we do have to go through a roll call, I think.
We don't need a motion
Oh,
to move the question.
Yes, all in favor, say aye.
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 You do have to call the,
Yes.
Oh,
the vote for the nomination.
Right.
Yeah.
So the motion is that we've nominated Michael Barrett to be chairperson. We will have a roll call vote. Michael?
I don't know whether abstain or say yes.
Well, one or the other. Don?
Yes.
Yes.
John Morton?
Yes.
John Linehan?
Yes.
Ola Bumney?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
And the chairman votes yes.
And I'm not clear how you voted, Michael.
I'll abstain. I don't know, it just feels, I don't necessarily feel like I should vote for myself. Doesn't
I would
matter.
like
Doesn't
to
change.
nominate Dwight McCarron as vice chairman.
I will second.
Second.
Discussion? All right, we will take a roll call vote on that. Michael?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
John Morton?
Yes.
John Linehan?
Yes.
Ola Bumney?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
The about-to-be ex-chairman, vice chairman votes yes. And I believe it's now, I can hand the agenda, you have the agenda in front of you, and our new chairman will,
Nominate me for treasurer.
Can I?
okay,
yes.
so
We should,
Can I nominate Michael as treasurer?
just to make it complete.
Second.
Discussion? The nomination's been made for Michael Barrett to be treasurer. Roll call vote. Michael?
I'll abstain again. Just-
Don?
Yes.
John Morton?
Yes.
John Linehan?
Yes.
Rich Terry?
Yes.
Ola Bumney?
Yes.
And the chairman votes yes.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Okay. So does that mean I get to take over the agenda, starting with the treasurer's report?
You do.
Which is really an update. I had a chance to talk with Biz today. I came up to get sworn in as a newly appointed member of the CPC. In my absence, they did appoint me at the meeting in June. And I had a good talk with her. She actually was at her desk working on one of my treasurer reports, trying to reconcile the town meeting articles. And I think this whole discussion that we had at town meeting with the sunset provisions and open appropriations and just the general organization of things in Munis is keeping her quite busy trying to unravel that and get it to a good spot. But she was working on it, and we agreed we would come back and work on a couple of things. One, to close out old projects, to set up a process for the invoices to come into us, and the things that we've been asking for that Bill Rowe wasn't as interested in doing as she is. She did ask us to be patient. I know she's got a lot on her hands with not just the CPC articles, but the list of articles that she had sent subject to that sunset provision and covered all of the departments in the school. And she's just going through that, and we'll continue those conversations, but we are on the same page. She agrees with us and is willing to work with us, so that's a good thing.
Good.
When you say she agrees with us, what does she agree with?
Trying to clean up and close out the old projects and coming up with a list of, okay, here's the projects going forward. She had a note to Barry the other day asking about what departments they should be in. Departments is something that was assigned internally at Town Hall, not by the CPC committee. We'll work out what she needs for the departments, for the liaisons, and just increase the flow and get to more transparent, no, I won't say more transparent. They've been very transparent, but she's been so busy the last couple of months, I haven't been able to get updated reports, and I said, Biz, we gotta get an update to the committee. I mean, we probably haven't spent a lot of money in the last couple of months, because everybody was at town hall doing town meeting and stuff, but. So she's on board with what we wanna do, and I think we're on board with a couple of things that she's thrown out that we will come back to the committee with.
In terms of monies that were existing monies that were then supplemented, as in the Capen project,
Yeah.
that basically eliminated $148,000. And had it not been for the grant monies that we received, this project wouldn't have gone forward. Is there any possibility of that sunset rule? I don't recall any wording that said it would be retroactive.
That's coming down to the interpretation by bond counsel, that it needs to be retroactive, and if bond counsel will not approve any of our bonds and financing stuff, then the town is gonna have to do that. I don't think that was on the list, Barry, of what she asked the Board of Selectmen to extend a year. But I think we have not formally closed that out with town meeting, which is part of what we need to do. So I think I would consider that still an open question. If we don't need the money, then it's gonna work out anyway, but we will resolve it and come to an agreement as to how that type of thing should be handled going forward. She was caught by, as much by surprise, I think, as we were.
Yeah, it's
the
on a list
sunset.
called
I
open
have
hold.
one last question.
Oh, wait.
I just wanted to answer, it's on the list called open hold inactive, 278,000 for the Freedom Project.
So she's got it then still, I'd focus on the word open hold.
Okay,
It's inactive because nothing's been happening to it, but she didn't close it then, like she did some of the other ones.
one article that was being used for the Keaton Farmhouse, it was $28,000, that was cash, that was never borrowed money. Is that also being put into the sunset category?
Is it?
Yeah, it's
It
32,000.
isn't just a borrowing. Bond counsel is kind of using their influence over bonding to force the town to clean up appropriations that are sitting open on the books. It's called a special appropriation. All of our appropriations fall into that category. Special appropriation being something that can run over multiple years. And for good reason, bond counsel and good financial management said you can't leave them open indefinitely.
Understood.
Town has never tried to do that, and it certainly is a little unfair to have come all at once and done it by surprise at the last minute. But it was brought up as part of town meeting with the bonds, and they just had to do something. But we will work it through, and the learning lesson from that's gonna come down to how we approach town meeting and how we word our motions going into town meeting going forward to avoid these problems. Biz brings a new set of eyes, but even as she reads these in some of the conversations, she says, I'm not the lawyer, I'm just asking the question. I need to understand how to make the finance work, is her point. So she reads through them to do that, and she may raise questions for the legal counsel, but she's telling them as well, I'm not suggesting legally you've got to do it differently, I just need to understand how to make it work.
Thank you.
Good communication amongst all of us, and we can make that happen up front. It's frustrating to go back in time and have it apply to stuff that it wasn't there, but we'll make them work, we'll find a way.
Okay, thank you.
If I could, I inadvertently skipped over my report,
Oh, yeah?
which is item 3. I just wanted to mention that I'd sent out grant agreements and MOUs as appropriate to all the projects that were approved at this year's town meeting. I have heard back from Hebrew Senior Life, they're looking for some changes, which I forwarded to town council, and he has made some comments, and we're working on that. And the other one I've received signed is for the Bird Street conservation area, so. I have those.
Speaking of conservation, is John still a representative of Conservation Commission, or what's, I was under the impression that he was done, so.
Speaking of sunset,
John,
I have not resigned from this either commission, so I guess I'm still on it
on the
until
Conservation
this
Commission.
month,
Until replaced?
Yeah.
or until the end of this month. My term runs out, I think, in July. I don't know. And my term may already have run out.
Yeah.
I may not be legally at this meeting.
As far as the CPC is concerned, until you're replaced, you're still a member,
Okay.
so.
Unlike the situation with Mark,
Right.
who was an elected official, and once he was not elected, he was off the SRA. Once he's off the SRA, he's off the CPC. I think in your case, John, if you stay on the conservation until a new appointment comes through, then you can stay here.
Yeah, I think I'm not going to do that. I think I'm going to resign from the
Or until you resign from conservation, yeah.
But then you would
Once I
have,
resign from the Conservation Commission, I think I'm no longer on this committee.
That would be true. Once you're no longer on
Right.
conservation, you would no longer be here.
and conservation would then elect a new representative when you are done there, correct?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Barry,
Yeah.
Yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, as long as you haven't been replaced in the Conservation Commission, you're still eligible to serve here.
Okay.
To be safe, should we make sure that John isn't the maker of the motion or the seconder
On anything?
on the ones we did?
No,
Good point.
Or are we okay?
no, I think we're okay.
Okay.
I mean, I've checked on this.
Okay, good.
And then, as you said, that's why Mark couldn't continue, because he's an elected
Right,
official.
but he was off.
His term ends.
His
after
term
the election,
ended, whereas John, until he resigns or
Or it's replaced.
is replaced. The one other comment I did have, Barry, on the grant agreement. I read through the HSL one, and I think we're gonna talk about it, but on all of them, there was a thing at the bottom that said they needed to be completed within 45 days of town meeting approval,
Right, and that's come and gone.
which is come and gone. We probably ought to think about changing that to a more appropriate, I think in my mind, I was thinking 45 days from the end of the fiscal year. I mean, we wanna get them done, but
Yeah,
that May to June thing kind of probably lose a little bit of time, so.
yep.
And obviously, I think we have the discretion to extend it. It's more of a, it's in our best interest to get them done sooner rather than later.
I agree. We can adjust that going forward.
Okay, so that was it for the administrator's report. So then moving on to project updates. The first one on the list is.
if I could suggest, since John and Rich will be at the meeting anyway, and Joe McCrisky is here and will leave, I assume, when he's done, does it make sense to take him first for the fire truck?
We can do that. I don't.
Is that okay? Then you don't have to.
No, I think in general, that's always a good thing to do. I always feel bad when we have a guest who sits here through 2 hours of presentations for what might be a very quick presentation.
Well, this one will be a little longer.
Okay, but I don't, so we'll rearrange the agenda and we will have Joe McCrisky give us an update on the restoration of the antique fire truck.
Okay, well, Mr. Chairman, if I can, if I'm able to share my screen when I join the meeting, I'd like to take this meeting outside because I brought the update to you. Okay, so, and I know that I've spoken, I heard the young lady from cable that's here, she can take that camera, although it won't be seen live, but it will be for the recording, she can take it outside and record it.
I think that is just fine. I think that would be
So
great as long as the rest of the committee.
If I share my screen, am I, because I'm gonna be online, who does that? So if I share my screen.
Can you let him share his,
Let me see, can you log in,
I'm in.
He's joined.
I'm in now.
right?
Joyce?
And do you have a control to share your screen?
I saw one.
It's the one that has, it's the square with the arrow in it.
Well, actually, I think everybody can see me. I think I just saw Don Brady give me a thumbs up, you can see me?
yeah, we can see you on
we
the
can
board
see
here,
you,
Joe.
yes.
Right here. Oh, okay.
You're up here.
Look in there, so why don't we,
Is he seeing him from that? Or, no, okay, well.
No,
The
because
camera's
that camera's
sitting
not
the
on
screen
here.
It's this camera, these cameras.
right, and what I will just do is, I will be able, I'll do my best to show it from here, because I don't know how to,
You know what, if you sit at the table next to us, you'll be included.
what's that?
Sit at the table between Barry and I. And that camera will pick
Joe
it up.
wants us to
Oh, no,
step
I won't go
outside
outside.
for a
Oh,
real
I brought
live
the fire
demonstration
truck.
of the project,
Yeah,
or a
yeah.
real live update on the
And then I-
project.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
I got it.
And then there'll be a little more, I just figured, there's no better way to, give you an update than to show you to.
Yeah,
Put
this
the truck
is,
in here.
yeah,
It'll fit, but it'd be a big hole getting it in.
Is
So-
that okay with the members online? If we step outside and look at the truck and show you via,
and Joe will
Joe's
have
phone?
his phone so he can show you.
But we will try and do it as quickly as possible.
yes, we should do it
Yes,
quick.
Yeah. Like I said, you'll get your update by seeing it. And any questions you have, I can come back in. Any members that are online have questions, more than glad to answer any questions we have. I would
Can
imagine-
somebody log on their phone and show it?
Well, that's what Joe is doing.
I'm gonna try to.
Joe's
do
gonna
that.
try to show it on his phone.
I said, the truck is working out a little kinks. We have a little water leak that takes a while for the valves to seat. They're all packed with grease. So we're getting there, that it's working itself out, but it has been a
And it
beautiful
was in the
ride.
4th of July parade.
We had it in the 4th of July parade. We tried to have it for Fireman's Sunday. That didn't work out well, and the weather didn't really cooperate. But we did go to the Massachusetts Antique Fire Apparatus Show in Wilmington, Mass. And it was the first time it was really out in public. We got a trophy about 4 feet tall for having best of show. In back, over, and to keep up with them, it's a lot of polishing, but it's also a labor of love. Hoping everybody can see. The lettering alone in the National Guard Armory down in Connecticut, all you saw is 2 frame wheels and 4 little holes where the wheels went. And it was all sandblasted, primed, painted. So everything you see now is 100% back to its original condition when it was delivered to us in 1928. Brass items, because they have to be covered when you transport the truck, those items can be dented. The lanterns are almost irreplaceable at this point. Covers made for all the brass items that you saw when we were walking around, so that when they get wet, these things take forever to polish, you know, when they get wet. You know, especially with the heavy rain now, they spot up and it takes a lot out of it. And then there's right here what's missing is a windshield. There's a windshield that's made for this area. If you want to call it a windshield, it's basically a piece of heavy vinyl and a plexiglass from anybody online.
While we're standing here, how many cylinders are in
This is a 6-cylinder, and it's down real low in 4th gear and accelerate, it'll go up. Not like something else, you have to downshift to get to the next gear. This is
Joe gave a running narrative all the way around the truck.
Joe has his microphone off.
We didn't hear a word.
I didn't know that. I'm not good at this, but I'll answer your questions. Did you get to see everything?
Yes, we saw the
Okay, so what
truck.
I'll do, John, I'll walk you through it quick, what you couldn't
No,
hear.
we don't need to do that.
No, okay.
We saw the truck, it's wonderful. I don't think we need to go through that again. But thank you, Joe. What you did was terrific. And
Well,
It looked good.
Yeah. Well, thank you to you folks, but I'd say thank you because you made it possible. There's no two ways about it. And you know that it was something different, something we've never done before. But John, as I did say, when we took it to the Massachusetts Antique Fire Apparatus Show 2 weeks ago, and I'm sorry, a week ago on Sunday, we got the largest trophy they have. It's almost 4 feet tall. It's the best of show, and
Wow.
it was the showstopper. And as I've said before, it's people seeing the town of Stoughton in a positive light. It is an ambassador, and as I've said to you before, it's the only piece of history that we have that goes to you, and it gets out and it represents our town. In closing, I will announce here that I will probably be back with another application to the CPC, because we're lucky enough to actually obtain an older piece of Stoughton firefighting apparatus. We obtained, through a private donation, a 1855 Honeyman hand pump that was towed by men. And we're in possession of that now. The Historical Society got possession of it through the Stoughton Firefighters Union. I helped them with a couple other people to get that donation. And the fire union just doesn't have the resources to keep up with it and to do that. So probably sooner than later, I'll come up with an application. It won't cost what this one cost. We're probably looking at $100,000 roughly. And I would ask you to consider that. And we have it. So there's nothing about the possession. It is in the name of the Stoughton Historical Society at this time. So again, I'll close with just saying to all of you that voted, thank you so much. It's a good thing for our town. I'm proud, I'm honored and humbled, you know, to have this role as the caretaker of that truck. One thing was nice as well is the Stoughton Historical Society, for the upkeep of the truck, has received a $25,000 donation from a developer who wanted to help out, so that we will have enough money to keep up with that truck for a long time, although it won't be anything major that's happening. Just the normal expenses, fuel, Insurance, right now I've been paying for the insurance cost of the truck to keep it registered and insured and paying for the gas. But that's my honor to do because it's nice to see, and I'd offer to anybody who wants a ride, you know how to get me, please call me, be more than glad to take you for a ride. It's an experience. So thank you all for allowing me to be here.
Thank you, Joe. That was unique, to say the least.
Yes.
I apologize. I wish I had known you got to turn your microphone on here.
But you did get the visual, so.
Yeah, it's an impressive looking truck. One suggestion, I don't know, Dwight, if the kid from SMAC who did the train station video?
He's gone.
He's
He's
gone.
gone,
Yeah,
or if we could
unfortunately.
somehow get someone at SMAC to do a video about what you did and
Kevin
display.
Rittenhouse is the one that did that video
Yeah.
for the train station. I've already spoken to him.
Yeah, that would be a
And,
great little thing to throw
In
out.
the money that we'll be getting for a donation, there's gonna be a marketing campaign.
Good.
I'm gonna be asking the Cultural Council for a grant to make a little book about the history of the fire truck, from where it was from 1928 to today. So it'll be nice we get these things out.
John Linehan has his hand raised.
Yes, I just had a question. How do we do relative to the budgeted amount?
Yeah, John, we're gonna have probably about $1,000 left. There's a couple things that have to be done still. There's a windshield that's made for it, and it's a custom make. So that's gonna cost us about $2,000, and I believe another $2,500 to make covers for all this, the headlights. When you transport it, if they break, you can't find those glasses. So they gotta be protected. The lanterns, as I mentioned outside, and again, I didn't have the volume on, but the lanterns, just to find one that's halfway decent, one's about $600. So we want to get those all protected so that when the truck is moved, it's either moved on a ramp truck or a low bed. We want to make sure that if anything comes off the road, it's not going to break anything. We can touch up a little scratch on a piece of paint if that was it. We don't want to, of course. But some of these things, if they're dented, you can't get the dents out. And you'd have to see it up close, how beautiful these pieces are.
Well, thank you for all the work you did to get it done.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, and talk to, you have a representative from SMAC right behind you,
Yes.
so, I was gonna say, if they got,
Okay, and any other questions, comments? Moving on, we'll take an
Good
update.
job, good job.
Thank you very much.
Very good,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
Joe.
Joe.
Good night, all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll have an update on Cape and Reynolds
Yes.
from Rich Terry.
Good evening, everyone. The project broke ground June 3rd or 4th. The company that is doing the work is Dandel Construction Company. They have done 2 other dog parks for the Stanton Foundation, one in Abington, which was completed in 2019, and they also did one in Yarmouth, so they have a lot of experience. The contractor stated from the get-go that he thought he could get the job done by September 1. As of today, in the meeting, when I met with our engineers, who had been on site working with them, they feel that that schedule will hold. We have run into 2 bumps in the road that we didn't anticipate. One was, we originally had the trees removed in the dog park area based on dimensions, diseased trees, etc., and we took them down. However, the Stanton Foundation said white pine trees will not be in the dog park. And we had left a few that were very healthy, according to the Malpe company, the arborists, who they felt they were, not a danger. But that is a requirement for or by the Stanton Foundation. They feel that they present a danger if they're, suddenly in a more open space and the wind can get to them. We had one large tree, a very large white pine, probably base diameter about like this, that happened to be right over a proposed rain garden for stormwater mitigation. That had to come down, unfortunately. That cost us an extra $2,700. That was expedited by Malpe. They really jumped through hoops to get on that. So the groundwork, grading, and the trench being dug for the water from the house to the community garden as well as over to the dog park has been dug, so they can make that connection. So all the rough groundwork is underway and going well. The other bump we run into is there's some ledge in the front of the large barn where the public off-street parking will be. And so we are getting a price from the contractor to lower that by about a foot. It's a huge piece of ledge. And no surprise, I think the glacier stopped here in Stoughton back in the day and dumped all the stones. So we're waiting on that price. Fortunately, with the funding that we have from town meeting of 23, plus the donations that we received from Stanton Foundation, which was $213,586, and then 50 from the Friends and 30 from Conservation, we have about $80,000 in reserve, above and beyond the price that the lower bidder had quoted at $645,000. So I think we're okay. If we run into another bump or two, I'll keep you posted, but right now we're on schedule, and these unforeseens are not that devastating. And the engineers, both the assistant town engineer and his assistant, Nick Dufresne, met with me today, a telephone call meeting, and gave me that update. And so they feel good with the results to date.
Let me just ask, if I could,
I'm sorry?
the reserve that you have, does that include the money that's on hold?
No.
Okay, so
The
that's.
reserve that I have is the $213,000 and change from Stanton Foundation,
Yep.
which we have in our
Yeah.
account, $50,000 from the Friends, and $30,000 from Conservation. So that can't be touched by anybody. So we have $463 from the original funding in 2023, plus the donations I just mentioned.
Okay.
We spent a little bit of that. The original tree removal cost us $23,000, and then the second phase of the trees cost just under $3,000. Fortunately, the Warner Larson Landscaping Company estimated the tree removal would be about $25,000. They were really close, within $1,000 either way. So they are working very diligently on working with the landscape architect with the contractor. One of the problems we're running into is Stanton Foundation has a very strict requirement in terms of grade. 5% grade is considered acceptable for ADA compliancy. Stanton Foundation says it will be 3%, and if it's not 3%, we have to do something. And so to overcome that issue, the plan was to put in a row of logs at that elevation line, and the landscape architects recommended black locust, because black locust is rot resistant for 100 years. They use it for fence posts. Having some background in botany, something made me think about it, and I looked it up. Turns out black locust is very poisonous to dogs. And people, not deadly, but it can make you really, they'll kill a dog.
The wood or the leaves?
Everything but the flower. So, that was taken very seriously, and landscape architects came back with, let's go with honey locust, which is not poisonous. Unfortunately, it's not indigenous to this area. You have to go to Indiana and Pennsylvania to get it, and nobody can find it. So the next suggestion was white oak, which is very sturdy, very resilient to rot, and very commonly found around here. The next step would be to go with treated timbers, like 10 by 10 timbers. Well, one, they're very you can sourced, and secondly, they have a flat top and vertical side as opposed to a round log, which would, the engineers are starting to think maybe it could be a trip and fall kind of thing. So that's going to be debated between landscape architects and Stanton Foundation, so that we'll be in full compliance with Stanton's requirements. Little stuff, but because we complied with their little stuff, they gave us $213,000. They also gave us $25,000 to pay the architect above and beyond the monies I just mentioned to you. Also, at the end of the first year of when this project is running, Stanton Foundation will give us 5% of the $213,000 for maintenance in year 2.
Wow.
So we want to stay in compliance with the Stanton Foundation. That's my report.
No, that, great, thank you, Rich. It's, I think this is a project gonna go over as well as any of our projects.
Right.
People have been so excited hearing about it, and even once construction started, people were asking, what's going on Vine
John
Street?"
Morton, you're interested in hearing this. When the Conservation Commission came up with this idea in 2014, the rationale was if we do the community garden and the dog park, and people start going there, they'll say, why can't we do something with the buildings? Well, the buildings are, particularly the barn, the carriage shed particularly, John, you'll remember us shingling that years ago, is in need of some serious work. And so the engineers in town and I were talking about it, and we're gonna do some mitigation so that kids and others can't wander in underneath the barn or the carriage shed to keep it safe. And so we're gonna start working on that project in about a week. And I'm gonna try to enlist some volunteers and perhaps some funding from the Friends to buy the material that we might need.
Okay, John Morton, raised a hand.
Yeah, quick question. Is there going to be water at the dog park?
Yes,
I don't think
yes,
there is.
it's mandatory as part of the dog park. And so we're also gonna bring it, the water line will come down the hill between the house and the carriage shed to the community garden with a spigot, and then it'll run over to the dog park, in which we'll have a water stand about this high for people, and then a water bowl at ground level for the dogs.
I've seen that. It's,
And it's pretty standard equipment. I've seen it in a number of other dog parks that Stanton has funded. And so that's part of the plan. It was required, and otherwise Stanton wouldn't accept our plan.
and wait for it, you're gonna find a dog owner who trains his dog to use the people bubble. I've seen that down at the one in Falmouth.
Well, right now, I've been asked to help coordinate with the landscape architects the signage regarding the rules and regulations of the dog park. And in my travels at some of the Stanton Foundation projects, this language is the same. The rules are licensed, rabies shots, neutered or spayed, etc. So they're very well thought out.
Yeah.
They're practically universal from what I've seen in the 15 or so dog parks that I've visited. And so we started with that today. I sent some photographs of that verbiage to Warner Larson, and they'll get a vendor that can put that together for us.
Any additional comments or questions for Rich?
No, but that is absolutely terrific, Rich. Thank you for everything you've done there.
Thank you. Well, thank you for standing behind this project all these years. Right now, it looks like all hell is broken loose. That place is torn up. But they are, I drove by there today at 4:30, and that construction crew is still working, which is kind of late in the day for a construction crew. They like to start early. So our town engineers can't complement the cooperativeness of the contractors we have.
Good. I know one big chocolate lab that can't wait.
I got a little shit you can't do.
Have you heard comments from people who've seen the construction going on?
Only on Facebook, and of course, you know, they always conjure up some kind of rumors that we're spending money we don't have.
Yeah.
Michael, you saw that.
Yeah.
And so Michael and I tried to just give them the facts, and
That's all you can do.
hopefully they'll
It's-
believe us. We're doing everything by the book, and hopefully we'll have a little money left over.
Yeah, well, no, thanks, especially that note, you deserve a lot of credit, Rich. Finding the Stanton Foundation, I mean, as well as
that was
conservation in
because
our own
one of our town
groups.
meeting reps told me about the Stanton Foundation at the polling booth, and said Stanton Foundation, and the rest is history. It takes a team to get a job done like this.
Okay.
Thank you.
And actually, I went out of order, I guess, because Benson Road, so we'll move on to a Benson Road update from John Linehan.
Yes, continues moving forward. Unfortunately, an earlier selectmen's meeting was, the agenda was overly full, so they had to put it off. And so they had to change the closing date. The closing date is now July 17th. And, you know, the next step after that is to find a conservation easement to put on the property.
Good.
All right. Let us know when that closing happens. It's the next-
Will do. It's taken a while. There were a lot of different requirements this time with sign-offs by conservation and the select board, and so it's a little, it's more highly documented, which is good, I guess.
Well, the same people have to sign the conservation restriction as well.
Yeah.
Another whole process. Okay, under continued business, we have updates to Hebrew Senior Life Grant Agreement. You touched briefly, Barry?
Yeah, I touched briefly upon it. I had sent out grant agreements to all of the non-municipal applicants this year that were approved at town meeting. And Hebrew Senior Life had sent back a number of proposed amendments, which I forwarded to town council, and town council had a number of questions on trying to get town council together with Hebrew Senior's attorney so they can work out whatever their questions are, and we can get the answers that we need and get the document in the final shape that it needs to be in.
And there was one question, because Elizabeth Zaleski brought up too, and I know she had emailed you about it, in terms of the timing of the payment.
Right, I had asked if the timing of the payment, which, okay, to backtrack, at
Yeah.
our last meeting, we talked about having a three-part payment. Hebrew Senior Life, in response to that, stated that they need to have the payment in one lump sum upon the closing of the construction loan. So I, today, asked Biz if that works out for them. She wanted to know when that was. I said, well, they're not ready to do that yet because they still have to go through zoning, through the ZBA to get approved. The other question that Biz had was about the phrasing of the wording of the motion, but she was working on she was basing that on a previous version, not the one that was approved by town meeting.
Well, I thought, didn't you send her the updated one?
I did.
She was referring to that, because if you read that, it talks about design and support,
Yeah.
but it did have language that said, subject to construction of the 96 to 100 units. And this was something that we did discuss briefly, not with the Hebrew Senior Life, but if you look at that, I did highlight it here. I grabbed it.
Maybe I misunderstood what she was saying.
Yeah, because she mentioned it, and then I saw your email. In the motion we have, it says the amount of $1,300,000 shall be available subject to and contingent upon construction beginning within 3 years of town meeting approval. She's reading that to suggest that the town meeting approved paying it upon construction start. She's not pushing, she's raising the question.
I see what you're
Again, she's kind of leading it, and I said, yeah, we've kind of had a conversation, because I began to think about that when I was putting together a budget, saying, we never really nailed down the time frame of what's going to trigger that payment. A lot of our stuff, Rich, is you do the work, you get an invoice, you pay for it. Dwight does the signs, you get an invoice, we pay for it. Here's kind of there's flexibility in terms of when it should go. So what I was hoping to get from them, and I've not had any of the conversation, is why is it a problem for them if they don't get it before? You know, they've kind of said, we're expecting it at construction loan closing. And yeah, they were expecting that. I don't think they ever talked about that, nor did we ask about it. But I don't know why that's a problem for them if they get it later.
I see what you're saying, so based on the language of the article.
I didn't, I said to Biz when I said, I don't think we made it subject to construction stop, but then I read it again after the conversation, and I said, kind of is what it says.
Yeah.
I don't know that that was our intent necessarily, but I thought we should at least throw it out tonight and see how people feel. Is there any strong feelings about when we should release that money? Obviously, the concern becomes, if you release that money and then they don't complete something, or they don't even start that construction, technically they haven't earned it, but what would we do?
Yeah, I guess at that point, we could ask for it back, or demand it back.
And in the agreement, it would say they would have to, but I mean, are there any other opinions across the board here that we can push back on them? We haven't signed the agreement.
Right.
And I was hoping at least ask them, you have to help us understand why you need it at that point. Because part of me logically says, okay, if they're closing on their construction loan, then they have money to go to the next step. Why do they need our money at that point?
Yep,
So
that's something we need to discuss.
we need to have, I think that, I don't know if anyone else had additional insight, John, or?
Mr. Morton, you're usually good at this stuff.
I don't know. I mean, I would say to them, can we find a compromise? We'll pay a third at the beginning, a third when there's something done, and the final third when there's something else done. I mean, it seems to me that the language is ambiguous. I would also go to town council and let them work it out, because town council can negotiate with an understanding of the legal consequences of the vote, the conditions on the vote, and the final settlement. So, I mean, I would sort of lay it on town council and say, you negotiate for us, here are the circumstances, let's see what we can do legally.
I'd be okay with that, I think. And I think that's all Biz is really doing, is saying, okay, I see this and it reads to me like it should be here, but they're saying this, and she's kind of asking town council the same question. But having that conversation kind of comes back to the same point of, we could do more up front to eliminate confusion after the fact.
Yep.
So we'll learn from it. I mean, that's new to all of us, I think, so.
I think a third is a good way of doing business. That's how we do business.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of where we left it when we had the conversation that Barry alluded to. We kind of went back and forth whether a third, or half and half, but the idea being, yeah, it's a pretty common
It protects
construction
us.
thing.
It protects us if they suddenly go south early on, and if they're continuing on the second payment, they have more than 50%.
So to combine the two thoughts, as John suggested, we say to town council, our preference would be a third, and a third. You work out the legal thing, and Biz will follow whatever the legal thing says we should do, but I think that would reflect the will of the committee. Make sense to you, Barry?
It makes sense to me. The third, the mileposts that you're looking at, that were discussed last time, were upon, my mind isn't working.
I think building permit might have been
The
one.
last one was upon the occupancy permit. The first one
Right.
was the building permit. And the middle one was on start of construction.
Like either start or a 50%.
It was upon start of construction. So at start of
Okay.
construction, it would have been 2/3 at that.
Yeah, and that's fine, I don't,
So a third with the building permit issue, a third when they break ground,
yeah, and a third at completion.
balance on certificate of occupancy.
I think that makes perfect
Those are good
sense.
milestones.
Yeah. And they're understood milestones. They can be measured, they can be identified. So I think we should suggest to town council that that's what we think, and
Okay.
unless they come back and give us a really serious reason, something we're not thinking of, I think the third is the way to go. Update in progress. Which I think is pretty much the motion we made before, so we're just
It
following up. I don't
was.
think we need another vote.
No.
I have something to add.
Anything else? Okay.
Yeah, as a member of the planning board about a month ago, or maybe 3 weeks, the representative, Deb,
Yeah.
came to the planning board, and they subdivided that 25-acre lot into 2 pieces. One is for the actual construction site,
Yeah.
which is about 5 acres, and the rest is all wetlands. So, since they didn't, they were all within the acreage needed, they didn't have to have any zoning changes made. And so it was voted as a, not needing permission.
Approval not required.
That's it, thank you, yes. So that went through unanimously in planning. So that area at the corner of Simpson and Canton, that sort of a quadrant of
Yeah.
a circle, is the 5-acre lot, which is now a
They're
single.
separate,
Right.
okay. And the other thing, Barry, that we might want to add in there, because I was reading back too, and remembering, at town meeting, they agreed, when Mr. Gito expressed concern about all the other properties, that they would work with the town. I think we should add that in as a condition, because they agreed to it at town meeting.
Yeah, that's something that they told me they're working on as part of, what that is one of their conditions for the zoning for the comprehensive permit, to put together a master plan.
Okay, I guess as long as it's in one or the other, but
Yeah,
let's not lose sight of that.
right.
Anything else? Oh, you know what else I did, Barrett? They talked about in there, this reference to TD Mass Docs, which sounds innocuous, except the way they worded it is, I would read to mean we could request a document and they could determine it's not related to TD Mass Docs and say no to us, which I don't think is our intent.
That's something that has to work out. My guess is what they're doing is they're trying to just follow the same model that they've used for their other projects, and this is what they've done in the past, but it's gotta work for us as well.
Yeah, and the way they wrote that one, and I think, again, that's a town council issue, but as we go through that, I just wanted to throw that idea out, that sounded off to me.
Yeah, I need some clarification, because what they did was they did that to replace the project liaison, and I wasn't sure what the logic was there, number one, getting rid of the project liaison idea, and number two, what that position, what the role of that person would be. They called it a lender's advisor, I think. And I'm not really clear on what that's all about.
Should we have a discussion with Brian Winter on that?
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt.
And/or with them? I mean,
Yeah,
I'm kind of where John is, that we express our concerns to Brian and let him then work out the legal, because we're not the lawyers.
and, yeah, it's not our project, we're just.
We can let him know what our preference is, or what our understanding was, and then he can work out the legality. So yeah, maybe we could set up a call with Brian and go through that. Anyone else? Any other?
Yeah, let me ask, I can ask Brian to set up a conference call.
Okay, then moving on to administrative items. A reminder on CPC terms, which is for me and John Linehan. Mine is all set. I got a letter.
Oh, okay.
I went to town hall today, got sworn back in,
Excellent.
so, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to vote tonight, so.
And I was reelected by the Open Space Committee, but I have not asked our secretary to send a letter to the town clerk yet.
Okay. so
Okay.
I
we
have
should
a
do that.
would be
major
helpful.
thunderstorm going on here. So I think if you can hear it once in a while, that's what it is.
Where are you? In Maine?
Maine.
I'd like some rain at our place, I'll take it.
Okay, next up, we have approval of minutes from April 3rd, and
Yeah, April-
I don't think you sent out the other two, did we?
No, the
Okay.
only one I was able to do was April 3rd, and I think I just sent that out early today, so I don't know that.
Yeah,
I
no,
had a chance to see it.
I don't know if anybody, I did get through them, I don't know if anyone else did.
Yeah, I read them, I vote to approve, accept the minutes.
I have one correction to make. It's where I was, it was commented that I said that to date, $75,000 has been spent. It should be 25,000.
Okay, let me find that.
It's on page 7, because I had a question on page 7 as well.
Okay,
On the same line, though, I mean, it said there was $917,000 approved.
That's before the sunset thing was.
That number, that seemed off to me. I don't recognize the 917.
Rich, what was your correction again?
It says $75,000 has been spent to
Oh,
date.
said-
It should be
okay.
25. And that was for the landscape, for the tree removal. I was rounding it up.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the same sentence under number 10 on page 7, Greg.
Okay, and what was the, so the question was the 917.
Yeah, that
That
number just
includes the
surprised me
250.
being that high, and I'm like, I don't recall what,
That's including the 250.
Basically, what my number, I think should have been, it included the $148,000 from the original funding that had been left over, which was part of the article in 2023, which was approved, along with the $463,000 additional supplemental monies. And the 50 from the Friends, 30 from Conservation, and 213,000 and change from the Stanton Foundation.
And that gets the 917?
Yeah.
I mean, the minutes say
Now,
that,
before we knew that the sunset rule was gonna take that 148 out of computation.
I looked at, there's two approvals. There was the original approval for 278,
Correct,
and then a second approval for 463.
correct.
And so,
On the 278, we had 148,000 left.
left. But so we've approved 741,000.
Right.
But that needs adding the Stanton to that, right?
Then the Stanton
Yeah, but
Foundation.
why would you add, I guess I don't, why would you add Stanton to that?
Well, before I learned that the sunset rule was gonna take away the 148, I said, we have this much money now that the Stanton Foundation has provided 213,000, and the Friends 50, and the Conservation 30. Adding that all up, we had 900,000 plus.
right.
So the clarification is that that's not CPC money. Is that your concern?
Yeah,
Implied
it's not all CPC
It's a
approved.
combination of resources.
It's-
All sources of.
Right, so if I had the words total of 917,000 from all sources.
Yeah, okay, then I, because,
Yeah.
yeah, in my mind, I wasn't adding in the money, and I'm like, how did we get that high? But, so it's the 250, the 50, and the
we're very
30.
lucky that we got these donations, because we wouldn't have been able to do the project with the sunset rule.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, we still remain, it would have caused a problem for us time-wise,
Right.
but I think we'll still resolve
You're,
it.
the accountant's having a hard time with all the sources of monies and what accounts they go into.
Yeah, and I still have, you had raised a couple questions with
Yeah.
Mary Jane, I still have that on my list for Elizabeth too, that will resolve
Right.
the specifics of, I think, where they applied some of that money.
Yes, and,
That's,
and we're trying to sort that out,
okay.
both Graham, Brittany, and myself.
Okay, so that's, are there any other comments on the minutes of April 3rd?
No, I move to accept them.
We have a second?
I second it.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Dwight?
Yes?
Rich?
Yes.
John Lenahan?
I'm gonna abstain, I only got halfway through.
Okay, John Morton?
Yes,
Dawn?
Yes.
Ola Bumney?
Yes.
And that's everybody, right?
So that was 5 to 0 to 1, is that?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
And that's as amended, the two
As amended,
amendments that we
yes.
just discussed.
Okay, other unanticipated new business, I know of nothing, does anybody have? Or emergency matters? Hearing nothing?
I have a matter. Are we on a new business?
Yes,
Okay, well then I just want to say with certainty that this is my last meeting, so I should no longer be listed as a member of this committee. So when notices are given and so on, you don't send them to me. And I'm going to resign from the Conservation Commission immediately so that they will be appointing a new member, I would guess, promptly.
Well, thank you for everything you've
Thank
done,
you
John,
for-
and for.
Yep,
you know,
thank you.
everything, John.
All the things we said last time, we'll say again.
Yes. And you're always welcome if you get bored and you want to laugh or two to join in a meeting.
Not only that, but we could use your wisdom.
We could always use your wisdom.
I'll have to tell my wife that.
And we can use you on some Glen Echo walks too, if you happen to be in town.
John, I'm very willing to share whatever information I may have on the Sophia Road lots, because I do think that they could be had for $1 with the cooperation of the Board of Selectmen. The owners are willing to sign off on them.
That sounds very different than last time we left it, John.
Well, no, it was the same thing. You had to go to the Board of Selectmen to get a tax agreement. Now, will they agree to $1, or will they agree to, there's over $1 million due on those lots. There's no way a town's ever gonna see that kind of money.
Let me ask you a question, just from a pragmatic standpoint. Would anybody ever buy out those taxes to do something with those lots?
The answer is yes, there may be, under some circumstances, a buildable lot there, but in order to do it, it will cost a fortune, because they have to, 1, cross wetlands, and 2, blast through very large outcroppings of granite.
And pay huge back taxes?
And they'd have to pay the back taxes, but they would go to the Board of Selectmen and say, you know, you gotta compromise the back taxes or we're not gonna do it. Nobody's going to buy the, for the back taxes. It's over $1 million. There's just no value there at that level.
So I think
So-
the sum total of what you said brings us back to the point that no one's really gonna do anything with it, so we're not motivated to do much on this end, at least speaking for myself.
I mean, who
Yeah, well,
would be?
I
Would it
agree
be-
with that, except that there's no public access now. You're trespassing when you try to get to 3 major pieces of our conservation land. You're trespassing. And, you know, that's the way it is. So I think it makes sense, but who am I? If it doesn't cost anything. I spoke to the treasurer about it, the former treasurer, and her statement was, it would be terrific because we, the town, are carrying those on the books as if that $1 million is collectible.
Yeah.
And we're deceiving ourselves into believing that we have an asset that we don't have. So anyway, I think a case can be made, and I think it's worth trying, but
Who should make the case? Is it the Conservation Committee? Is it an open space? Is it the town treasurer should be saying, hey, I want to clean up my balance sheet?
any citizen can make the case. I mean, it's just a question of who wants to lead the charge, if anybody. If nobody wants to lead the charge, they're just gonna sit there.
Well, John, would you be willing to personally be involved in that?
Yes, I would. But understand, I also have a conflict. I am in a butter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. I mean, I don't care if they just sit there. I'm in a butter to the lot that has the enormous outcropping on it. We call it Big Rock. And that's the one.
Very creative, by the way.
What's that?
Very creative, by the way.
Big rock.
And that's the lot least likely to be developed. So from a butter point of view, I have little to fear. In addition, I'm not going to own that house so much longer. I mean, unless I can live to be $1.5 million, it's not in my future. So there you go.
Okay.
Well, I was just going to say, I would love to try again to get a couple of the members of the Open Space Committee to work with you. I think you have the in-depth understanding of the issues that few others do.
It sounds like a good idea. Would help the town, actually, even if it's not high on their priority list.
Whereas on my priority list, for open space, I would put the land between Gibson Way, whatever it is, Kinney Lane, and the conservation land, that big cutoff gap of land that McNamara used to own. James McNamara sold it, now held by the heirs, but to resolve something about, at least so that our trail doesn't go through that property. I mean, I would just put that at a much higher priority myself, just speaking for me.
Well, I agree with that, by the way, and I just think it's gonna cost a ton of money, as opposed to $1.
Yeah, well, I hope that a deal could be worked out where they would give up the wetland, no matter what else we worked out, the wetland and the piece that, the little triangle that comes over and the connecting trail goes over it. Because I think conservation has been reluctant to call that a trail on their maps, even though it's a well-used trail. It connects Split Rock with another one, so, but that's for future consideration by open space or whoever.
Yeah, no argument from me on that one, Dwight. I agree with you. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank
It's been
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you,
to be part
John.
of-
John, thank you.
Thank you. Stay well, everybody.
You too.
You as well, John. And our next meeting is Wednesday, August 7th, first Wednesday of the month.
Yep.
And-
Earlier in the day, there'll be a walk from Lesser Playground into the Great Wall of Bird Street, which is the
On the
cellar
7th?
hole that's on the 7th in the morning, sponsored by the library. And I just throw that out there for you.
I'm gonna make one someday, Dwight.
Are you gonna
I just
lead
need
it,
to be in
Dwight?
town to
I
do
am.
it.
I take it you have seen the big cellar hole at Bird Street and behind the site there. So I've never taken a walk there to people, and so that'll be, it's not a long walk, but that'll be kind
I
of the
can, I can imagine my daughter and grandson will join you.
Good.
Okay, with that, we will ask for the most popular
I make
motion
a
of the
motion,
night.
we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, we'll do a roll call. Dwight,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
John Linehan,
Yes.
Ola Bumney,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Thank
Okay.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all. All right, good night, everyone.
Have a-